Commissioner Wood,
Yes.
Commissioner, oh, sorry, Gary Nimikin. Is Gary present?
He might be on the phone.
Pardon?
So she's going to phone.
Yeah. Well, she's on the phone right now, so maybe I'll text her.
Oh, so that is Gary on the phone? Gary Nimikin?
So Pearl, the phone
Yeah.
number that is 250-354-7815.
Yeah, that's Gary?
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Yerby?
Yep.
Commissioner Thorpe?
Troop?
Yes.
Stacy. Troop? Here.
Yes.
Present.
Commissioner Mentz?
Yep, here.
Commissioner Chutzoff?
Commissioner Levin, the alternate, is here in her place.
Oh, sorry, how do you spell your last name?
Levan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so as Kathy is not here, we just need to do have a chair for the meeting.
Election of chair.
There. So
Nominate.
Okay.
So,
For this meeting, or
it's just for this meeting, yeah.
yeah.
For this evening, Stacy.
Okay.
I pointed the finger at you. Sorry about that.
So this is the way it works. I have to call for it 3 times.
Nomination.
You're okay for doing the
Yes.
the meeting? Is there, so calling for nominations a second time?
You mean I could nominate someone else and we could go for it?
Yeah, it's longest part of the meeting. Calling for nominations a third time. Okay, Pearl. So Stacy is the chair for tonight.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Stacy, I turn it over to you.
So I guess she's got stuck on the phone. Or not on the phone, if it's just sleeping.
Oh, yeah.
So calling the meeting to order at 7:05, even though that clock is right. I've never done this before. So first do we have minutes from the last meeting that we want to put in? Is that something we have to do?
Sorry, so just follow your agenda. So number 2, it's the traditional land acknowledgement. Second page.
Oh, okay. Okay, we acknowledge and respect the Indigenous peoples within those whose traditional lands we are meeting today. We would like to adopt the agenda.
So I move adoption of the agenda with possible addition.
You want to,
I wanted just to raise the issue of the water. With a little vote on that water, that's then you're going to work like the next summer, next day down the line down the railway.
you can't do a vote because this commission doesn't have it in its responsibility anymore. So if there is something like what I've done with other commissions, like you can have a brief conversation about it. But just if you're looking for something to take back to your advisory committee meeting on.
Yeah, I'll clarify that so that we know where we're at. We cannot add that to the agenda because it's not part of the South County Commission of Management responsibility. What you can suggest is not part of the agenda is while everybody's here, the people that are on that advisory committee to stay back behind after the meeting so we can have a discussion.
That's what I was about to suggest.
Thank you.
Let's wait till this meeting's over and just hang around.
We have another meeting.
Perfect.
So we're just going to adopt the agenda as is.
No. Yeah, I do have a question to Manager Sherrico about meeting dates.
Yes.
If we're going to have meeting dates, then I'd like to add an addition to that we appoint or recommend appointment to the Commission of Management for 2025.
Okay.
So are you okay with that? We're in the process of transferring. So what is the proper procedure on that? Do we appoint people? And then once we do the transferring or whatever, disappoint people? But to disappoint people, we need board approval.
Correct. I mean, how
Could people want to step
Can,
aside?
can we,
That's it.
can we do, I was gonna do the update in the rec number 8 piece, because I thought that tied it together, but I understand the predicament, that you're in. So what we could do, if it's okay, so the reason Walter's asking, Walter needs to make appointments. So the issue that, Rec 8 is moving towards an advisory committee piece, which would mean this really should be an advisory, should be really just a working group of that advisory committee. And so this shouldn't be a commission anymore. So the commission, sorry, Stacey, I know this throws it way off.
No, I know, yeah, I'm following.
So-
Everybody else following?
Yeah, so a commission has an official governance role of the regional district. That's the reason why I have the speaker and
It would be less formal.
it is less formal if it's advisory. So for example, the advisory piece for Rec 8, the Rec 8 will always, is really about the project, like the improvement of I'm just going to call it the South Slocan Park right now, for a better name. But just so the South Slocan Park piece. So Walter would not need to do appointments if the commission, because right now it is a commission, if the commission agrees with that approach moving forward. If that's something that we want to consider in the new year, then we would need to make appointments. And what Walter's point is that if we do make those appointments and we're okay that in March we disband, that the commission is disbanded, he just wants to make sure that no one feels slighted by them.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, and I'm not, that government in general moves at a pretty glacial pace, and therefore making appointments might be prudent for next year. And if we need to step aside when Rec 8 takes over, let's do that. Yeah.
It's not that easy.
What are we giving up by disbanding?
So
It was for a purpose, and now we are basically voting ourselves out of the commission.
well, no, technically,
you're not.
technically you're not, because you're an
Let me
animal,
explain it.
you're an animal of the board.
Yeah, there is a policy in the regional district. So once I appoint people to Commission of Management, which has nothing to manage, so then I'll be challenged. Why are you appointing people to a Commission of Management that has nothing to manage? Because now if your building has been demolished, and that was what the Commission of Management looked after, was the building. It's gone. The park, if you intend to keep the park separate from the regional park system that we have through Rec 8, only within South Slocan, then your tax base is only within South Slocan. So $200,000 or $300,000 is going to cost you whatever, you're going to be paying an enormous tax. So the intent is to not go forward with the Commission of Management. And by not appointing people to the Commission of Management, I can make a referral to the board that we basically put on hold the Commission of Management until we establish an advisory commission, just like what we've got.
So by not appointing, it streamlines the process of being amalgamated into Rec 8.
Our working group would fall under the umbrella of Rec 8.
And to George's point, what are we giving up?
You're basically not giving up anything because you got nothing to manage.
There's nothing there.
But prior to the schoolhouse issue, was there any role for the management commission?
When the schoolhouse was there, yes, they managed the schoolhouse. That's all they managed.
That's all I meant.
Well,
Well, I mean, when we go back, they managed the water or whatever. So with the water system, there was a water advisory commission for them. So the Commission of Management lost that responsibility. The street lights are being managed through our environment.
Yeah.
You know, our It's going to say administrative environment, but it's not our environment service. So that's the street lights. So the other one was the building. Because those two are now have no longer our responsibility, commission of management. And the building is gone. There is, the question is going to be asked. Why are we keeping the commission of management? So the bylaw will be taken off the books.
So there's snacks here.
But no one brought any snacks. There was no advantage.
What's the point to gather?
So,
That's exactly the point. So with the setting of the dates or whatever, what will happen is it's a process that we're working through. At any time, we could run into a stopgap in the process. But then there's always that option for me to appoint members to the, continue the commission of management and appoint members at a later date.
So come around with the problem, you could say, hey, we need to get this commission going.
No, the commission, it's going to exist there until it's taken off the books. And that's going to be a motion made by myself to take it off the books. Now, once I take that bylaw off and, make it null and void or whatever, I want to make sure that there is a process moving forward for the South Slocan people that are there, that are working on the part. You will still have your working group. Stacy, the intent for Stacy, she sits now on the Rec 8 Commission, and we will be forming an advisory group from that Rec 8 Commission. Not everybody there will be part of the advisory, but the intent is to have a person on the advisory group, advisory committee, I should say, looking after Parks and Rec within the southern portion of Area H. So we should have a person from South Slocan on there who will meet with the working group and provide input.
So yeah, to George's point, is there a guarantee that somebody from our community will have a voice on that committee?
That's you, right, Susan?
can I say something about that? So Winlaw Park right now is in that predicament. It is in the bylaw that they have to have somebody on the rec aid, but there's no one who wants to sit on the rec aid.
Right.
It's not.
But they have
Yeah, but it's harder to run the committee without somebody from Winlaw because it's on the books that they have to be there.
Right.
So it's like, they can have anybody can join. It's a public group.
Well,
not to be
Appointed, yeah. No, but you can be appointed. It has to be appointed.
okay, so here's the difference between advisory and governance. So this is a formal governance committee of the board. So here's an actual fact. And this is often been a misconception. The decision maker in all cases has been the board. So the board, the committee's role the commission's role, was to make recommendations to the board. So fundamentally, there were a number of things that formal governance body had. And over time, that has changed. So originally, commissions, even from the start of my career, so the start of my career formally was like 31 years ago. And commissions as staff, that's who we actually did most of our business with. That's who we did most of our work with. And then it would go to the board. The board would make decisions. Now, fundamentally, what the South Slocan Commission of Management was primarily, like the original intent was the water system. Like the water system has been the key to everything here. It's all revolving. Even the getting of the property, which the schoolhouse sat on, was in reality about the water system. So those kinds of things. Now, the board through time has realized, as we know, water became a high liability item. And the board, through, this is not just happening here, it's happening across the province, that those kinds of things and those decisions needed to be made by the board. What the board did, in order to keep not like an advisory committee is a different level. So the advisory committees as a place to have communication with the community on an ongoing basis. Yeah. But an advisory committee does not make recommendations to the board. It doesn't have that role. It is more like a place where we take notes about what happened at that advisory committee. It informs the water services committee. That information informs them, but it's not a formal recommendation. Now, in reality, that is what the governance committee was before. In reality, we called something a governance committee that it never really was. So it never really had any autonomy from the board. So usually when board would have, in lots of places, if there was something as a commission, you would have some autonomy from the board. There really is no autonomy from the board. It's just that at the time of the district, because this thing goes back to 1967, this is what it created. And when I said it never had legal autonomy, but the board often acted that they did. So, like, if I can remember the first rec commissions that I was involved in, they kind of acted like they did. Where they got into rubbing, is when they recommended something that nobody wanted, particularly when it came to taxation. When the directors at the board table didn't like their recommendations, they would quash them at the table. So we haven't seen that necessarily in this case, but that is where it comes from. So the advisory committee actually works better. And at the rec date, one of the things that once I get through all my public meetings, I've got to put together a little bit of a formal document on what an advisory committee looks like.
Right. And
for rec date. That's one of the primary things for our next workshop. Is that piece. And so rec date actually hasn't been meeting formally. They've been meeting in workshops in order to have these discussions. But what does this look like? So the idea for Area H South, which Walter is correct, is that we're going to have an advisory committee for parks and recreation for the south. So what that enables, it enables us to still have this community conduit, but not to have this formality of something like Stacy, I think, were you at the last budget meeting directly? No, I don't think you were appointed at that point. Where the commission looks at the budget and goes, well, what can we really change it? And it's like, well, we really can't change very much. So what it enables us to do is, instead of it being focused around these governance issues, which are really strict and tight, it actually allows us to start talking about projects and goals and vision. And then how do we communicate to the community as well? So that's really where we're going with REC. We actually I think the staff, it still has this note-taking piece, so Walter would still get information from that advisory committee, but they're not necessarily action items. Now, what eventually will happen, possibly, is something called a services committee. So what a services committee is, that is, Walter's in a little bit of a predicament in Area H, because there's this southern portion and then there's this northern portion. Like, it's a very big area with really distinct services.
What's the boundary?
Area. Summit and Lake.
Yeah, just about almost 8 kilometers before Nakusp. That's the boundary.
the northern boundary.
The northern boundary
Your area.
of my area. That we have not defined that as yet. We will define And, the typical, there's a natural boundary, and that's basically Cape Horn.
Yeah.
Well, it used to be Cape Horn. Yeah. That's a natural boundary. So more than likely, that will be the boundary that we take a look at. Any population, I think it's Memphis Creek. North of Memphis Creek will fall in the northern portion, and south of Memphis Creek, which is the creek there just past the Cape Horn, called Memphis Creek, will fall in, but we'll have to define that boundary. That's yet to be defined, on paper with our advisory committee. Now, when Joe says an advisory committee, and I think you brought up a good point, is South Slocan going to have a rep on that advisory committee? And that's something that we have to establish in terms of reference. Like we have an advisory committee for the water system. Now that was simple. It's a South Slocan water system, and members in that advisory committee are the water users of South Slocan. So if we're going to have an advisory committee for the southern portion of Rec 8 and parks or whatever, then we're going to take a look at. We have Windmill Park, we have Crescent Valley Park, we have Prestova Park, and we are going to have, or in the process of establishing South Slocan Park. So the logical part would be is to have a representative on the advisory committee. This hasn't been established yet, but the logical thing would be is to have a representative from South Slocan, a representative from Crescent Valley. We could combine Crescent Valley and Prestova. That's to be debated. But the other one will be from Prestova. And then we take a look at it. The other part is in Windmill, and we might want to consider a representative from Slocan Park. This is something that's going to be defined through the meetings that we have. Like you said, will you have a representative on there? So now we heard your voice, and the logical thing to do, and this will be Joe and myself taking a look and see what kind of representative, the representation that we would want. From the recreation point and from the parks point.
Can I ask something? It would be an appointment, right? You would,
You
would phone and you'd say, do you want to do this?
Basically, it's going to be the same thing as the water advisory committee. So I appoint people to the water advisory committee. I call them and say, do you want to sit on there? And there's a number that we have. I think a maximum of 6 or something like that in the water advisory committee, or less.
You don't want too many cooks in the kitchen.
So you don't need a quorum, do you?
No, we don't need a quorum. Here, we cannot conduct any business without a quorum, period. And, then the minutes go nowhere, nothing happens, we all go home. And this is what's been happening in the last, I'd say probably about 5 years or so, is we were having a hard time getting a quorum. Not necessarily South Slocan Commission of Management, but, the other areas, whatever, like the park and Windmill, we had a problem getting a quorum, or we only had one meeting last year because we couldn't get a quorum. So it becomes a problem. Legislation tells us we cannot conduct business without a quorum because it's a bylaw established the committee with approval from the provincial government. So this is something new. We're going to uncharted waters, and hopefully we'll try to do it in the fairest way possible. Myself as director, I'm familiar with the area and I'm familiar with the different committees. And Joe is the manager of community services. He is familiar with the services that are provided and what he would like to see on the advisory commission, what representation he would need to get input from the community. And the idea is a member for the advisory will represent that community. Like you've got a working group, and that's going to be your own working group. And the representative on the advisory committee from South Slocan will work with the working group and bring it to the advisory committee with the views there. So that's the simplest way of view. If nothing's cast in stone, we're in the process of establishing. It's different than the water advisory committee because water advisory committee is specific to that water system period.
And what we're just quite honestly finding with commissions, and this isn't necessarily this one, but just in general, is that when we had commissions in particular that weren't elected officials, so that because we have some commissions that are strictly all elected officials, those run quite a bit differently. But was that what we were actually getting were the same people? So some people have been on the commission longer than I've been an employee, and they weren't actually bringing us true community input. They were bringing their historical input, but we were stuck in history and not stuck moving forward. And so that was a problem. So what I would say, like in particular with advisory, is it never stops us from having community input into the park. And in fact, that always drives us. So almost our impetus and our ability to get projects working is when we have community buy-in. What it enables us to do is get rid of the shackles of governance and actually talk about projects and be project-based and not be stuck in a governance model which requires us to do certain things at certain times. And have that, an advisory committee maybe even allows us to ebb and flow with projects versus this repetition of we must have 4 meetings and those kinds of things. So that's the piece that we're looking to establish. But it is new. For example, so like we just it is now with our corporate services department that kind of give us a framework for advisory that allows us to do our work. So that's where we're at. So just so you know, we don't have that through the chair. We don't have all the agenda, but we have pretty much covered off like a great big piece. So you're, if it's okay with you, it'd be really good to hear what individual commissioners, especially those of us that are longer than the 30 years that I've been before this.
Yeah, and you know, one of the problems I have as directors appointing people to different commissions, the older crew are retiring, the younger crew have got no time. So you go out there and I'm struggling with getting a full slate of appointments. You know, Commission of Management has been actually pretty good. You know, we were able to get a full slate, but we're still missing a couple of alternates. But the bylaw says we have to have alternates, so, you know, whether I like it or not. I mean,
So this is the commission.
yeah. So, like in this particular case, if we establish dates, the question that I will get, who are the commissioners that are going to be meeting on those dates?
Yeah.
So then I have to appoint people to that. In the meantime, like I would basically, under that new business, defer that to a later date. So if we run into a roadblock, we cannot move forward in establishing an advisory committee, you know, for recs and parks or whatever, then I can always appoint in January. I can always appoint in February. I can appoint in March, whenever.
So is there a third option of suspending instead of decommissioning?
It's not, this is basically suspending it.
Okay.
This is exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah, so
I'm not appointing people, it's suspended.
Okay.
Yeah. The bylaws
The bylaw still exists.
Yeah, until the bylaws rescinded,
Yeah.
it's just a commission, it's just a
So if
commission without.
if you go with these dates and they tell you that they want you to appoint commissioners,
Well, the first question.
they're going to say why, but if you just suspended it, it's just not a topic of discussion, then it's kind of flows
Under
under
new
it.
business, a motion to defer. That's it.
Okay.
And that's simple. Not to any specific date. And you know, it won't be the board that's going to be questioning it. It'll be Angela.
Yeah.
Because she reads the minutes and she says, Walter, you're not doing your appointments. I've got an email from her, do your appointments, buddy. So, you know, I'm under the gun and I'm supposed to get them done before the end of the year or whatever. But if we, you know, defer this, then it shows in the minute that we deferred the dates and I can answer the defer.
And you're just looking for a consensus right now, or do you need a motion?
Well, I mean, I don't know if we need an addition to the agenda. We'll just go through the agenda. When it comes down to new business, I'll make a motion to defer.
Okay.
So like you said, is it the cart before the horse, or is it before the horse? We want to get that water or the services, or you know,
Yeah.
that established first, before we.
Okay, we'll put that under new business then. How's that? End of discussion. We've received the minutes.
Right.
From the last meeting. There are,
So we need a motion to adopt the agenda. Did we get a motion to adopt the agenda?
yeah, I think that you did it, didn't you?
Okay, I move that we adopt the agenda.
No, you did it. You did it, and he seconded it.
Okay.
And then you said you wanted to put an addition, so that was done.
Chair,
Um,
Earl, through the chair, excuse me. What was
Yes.
the motion again?
Adoption of agenda. I made the motion. This is Walter. Adopt the agenda, and Peter seconded.
Oh, it's as circulated?
Yes.
yeah,
Okay,
and
thank you.
with new business.
Yeah, and it's moved second and the result.
Okay, and then we're going to, we've received the minutes.
Yes.
We have no delegates to speak. And we're on to old business, which is the old schoolhouse project and the rec commission meeting update. So that is all our business.
So, I don't know if there's a committee member that would like to do, an update on the old schoolhouse.
We have actually been pretty slow since, do you have, okay, we'll let,
It's from Randy. Update number one is we officially have a bank account.
yay, with signers.
Cool.
Whatever with that, yeah.
And it's not empty.
It's not empty
It's not empty. We have some money.
already.
We have displayed our project at the Dam Inn with some take-home information on it.
That's right.
We've set up, it's like a GoFundMe, but it's a different website. And folks have been putting some money in.
Nice.
Yeah.
So do you have an amount?
I don't know.
Is it like 35 cents or is it $35,000?
I think it's fewer zeros than more
Then we
zeros,
would hope.
but yeah. But there is some,
But it's accumulated.
yeah,
And there's an avenue for it to accumulate.
there is,
So now we can start,
and it's working,
and it's working.
and it's working. Yes, Pete,
It's at the Community Service Credit Union,
that's correct.
and the signing officers are,
The signing officers are
Got my
Stacy, Christie, and Mandy. I mean,
We could put you on to, I think they needed,
you don't need me.
yeah, they needed, I think they needed him on the fly, so she would, and he just ran next door, graphics.
yeah, it's Stacy, Christie, and Mandy.
And just out of curiosity, did you get the working group was going to talk to John Bullock?
I didn't get to that yet. That's all.
I was just impressed. When you set up the account, I was just wondering if I was joking.
Haven't made it there yet.
Okay, no problem. Just a question.
In addition to the display at the Dam Inn and the funding website, we also have a Facebook page that we've created. And it currently has 38 members and counting. You're all welcome to join.
I'm a part of it.
Okay, right. Welcome. And we, that being Peter, had a meeting with Greg Nesteroff to discuss historical happenings on site and potential drafting of
Signboards.
signage.
No,
Yeah.
signage that you agreed that you would do that.
Mhm.
You know,
That's great.
yeah. We didn't talk money.
So that's what the commission has, or pardon me, the working group has been up to since our last meeting, which was only like a month ago or something. At that meeting, we had formed a plan, and RDCK was going to do stuff on their end as well. Do we have an update on that?
That would be the, I forgot to send the email.
Sorry, I was.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah,
Well, there was going to be a meeting with finance. Was one of the things
Yeah.
that was going to happen.
So what I just need from the group is, what you would like us to do. So like I'll give you an example. So you've got, a bank account and that stuff is great. But I'll tell you how it worked with Crestova. So Crestova, they kept a very detailed list of who the donors into that bank account were. And so you've got the website that can be working separately. That website should be able to handle those. For the regional district, if people are giving a cash donation in that, as long as you've kept that record and we've got that adds up to what's inside the bank, then eventually what we did was we reconciled that and we provided letters so that they could use that with Revenue Canada
Tax receipts.
as tax receipts, claim as donations on their taxes. So that's a piece. And unfortunately, I would love to tell you that I've got a really tight system, but it seems like I have to reinvent the wheel all the time. So as long as you have that, we can always go back and give tax receipts.
So I think money wise, what we need from the RDCK is, in order to apply or help apply or look at grants, we need a more lasered, like we just have really rough estimates on our report.
On cost. So getting back to that, I should mention that we have applied for a couple of grants as well, and we're waiting. We have 2 weeks is when we'll find out what the first grant we applied for.
Great.
So there could be more of that. There could be more zeros.
Right.
Yep. I think what Stacey was getting at is the one thing is there was talk of a meeting with a Kevin and a Carrie. I may have these names incorrectly. And there was going to be a site meeting, and RDCK was going to have some numbers for us because, we just kind of came up with our own estimates of what it would cost, like for me to build. What it costs from government to build things tends to be a different number than what it costs for me to build things.
Yeah.
So the RDCK at our last meeting was saying that they were going to get some of those numbers a little bit more finalized. So because I'm eager to approach local businesses.
Okay.
And I don't want to go in there and say, hi, we're going to build this thing that's going to cost $500,000. And then 2 weeks later, I find out, oh, it's 1.3.
Right.
And then I don't look so,
Yeah. So what we'll do, like, we're just getting, so the regional district, we've been a little bit short-handed on project managers, but we've just finished doing some hiring. So I will pick that piece up. So Pearl. Just
Yes?
checking in. Yeah. Could you just record in the minutes that RDCK staff need to provide cost estimates for the slope for the South Slocan Park project.
Slocan Art Project, is that correct?
Project.
Okay, RDCK staff need to provide rough estimates for the South Slocan Art Project.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
It's a recommendation to staff.
That's a recommendation to staff.
Thank you.
I have a question about the sign that's there. The old bulletin board, I guess, whatever, by the old boat. And there's a little turnaround at the bottom across from the old post office. It looks like a semi-official.
It might be bulletin board.
Yeah. And
We're not on the prop.
no, it's not. And we had informed and we're talking about moving that.
We would like to put it on the property because where it sits currently,
It's on private property.
it's on private property. It's a nice, community.
Oh, that's right. No, I'm not saying. I was confused about where the sign was.
Down in the
It's the turnaround by the.
By the old post office.
Oh, okay.
So my
But now it's not the old post office anymore. It's,
yeah, it's private property.
Yeah.
Christy contacted the owner of that property and she said, do what you want.
Mhm.
I went down and looked at it and it looks like we could just chainsaw it off right where it goes into the brackets. Put in a new bracket wherever we want it and then slide it like it's a simple job.
Mhm.
But I'm wondering, we have to come up with a location, right? Where we're going to put this thing. And then I'm fully prepared to go ahead and do the work. It doesn't sound like it would affect our DCK in any way because you don't even know.
The only thing that we have to make sure is that we just put it on the property. Because the administrative transportation, the administrative transportation, right?
So my recommendation would be maybe work with Carrie
Yeah,
and basically figure out a good location for it. that's agreeable, meets the regional district requirements and meets the community requirements.
And then my question is there any requirement to have more staff do it, or can we just do it?
So we're not unionized. Our staff work with volunteers all the time.
Okay,
So what we would do, because it's an official piece, so we will go through a little bit of a safety thing with you to make sure that the work that you're doing is safe. That's our responsibility. Yeah.
So how would you remain? How
Yeah.
would we stick propose sitting down,
Yeah.
secure?
We're not doing shots before we do it. We're not doing shooters together.
So
Yeah.
that was not in the minutes.
Yeah.
That's the
So we're not going to record it. This is something extra, whatever, because, you know, like that.
We are being recorded.
And this is what I mean, like, we've got to follow protocol, and this is what the protocol is. If it's not on the agenda, we can discuss. But we did discuss it, but there's no action item.
yeah, I'm thinking, well, this is part of the working committee,
Part of the working group.
and then my only question was, how do we proceed within the working group?
Yeah, so what is just try to be like, sometimes in an email, usually bullet point form is best. What is the project? What are we trying to do? And then we can assign them.
So the working group discussing where the sign should go,
Mhm.
and then once we have an application, then let me know where we're looking at putting it, make sure it's okay, right?
Yeah.
Want to be above board, and then we just do it, right?
Yeah.
And that would fall under old business 6.1 schoolhouse project updates, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay,
And I think that's kind of the update. I think that's where we're at. We've got, you know, some internet things and some physical things and some money and
And just through the chair, just for the community, I did meet with CBT today. And I wasn't meeting specifically on this project. We were meeting on many different things. But they are very interested in this project. This project ticks a few boxes.
excellent.
So they want to be kept in the
if I could, one other thing, Peter, this, sorry to hold the chair back. You've been doing some work again, debrushing the area.
Yeah.
And I see your little pile of logs. If we were to go ahead and continue to cut this white pop, the scrub,
Yeah.
and we make a pile, is that an RDCK thing to haul it away, or?
So through the chair, so let Carrie, until who should be our contact? Peter?
I'm happy to,
Okay.
No,
but the point is, I don't know we need to be hauled away. It's going to be like floppy stuff, which once it's dried a little bit, will burn. It's okay to burn it. It's not the issue of So, that would be okay, I think.
So again, just, no problem. And just, when you have that proposal, let Carrie, let us know. And then we'll just because Carrie will just make sure that if there's any permits or anything that are required. And just those kinds of pieces.
So we use connection, information,
Yeah, so Carrie being,
what's it again?
Carrie, so C-A-R-Y,
It's A-R-Y-N-O-E, okay.
yeah, Gaynor, G-A-Y,
Okay.
and G-A-Y-N-Y. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
And, I don't know Carrie's, I'll get it to you.
We're gonna and he's the guy to notify everybody who do
Correct.
further at the schoolhouse property.
Yeah.
Directly? Can you communicate with him directly?
But please, one person.
Somebody.
Yeah, we have 27 in the regional park, so, can get,
Not all in area H, so
not all there.
I'm surprised this is not, who's responsible for the beach park at Slocan City? Is that the city park?
That's the city, that's a village of Slocan.
Village or something? Okay. Yeah, all the others are city, So
It depends.
Defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Not all, municipal parks are municipal parks. Bigelow Bay in New Denver is a regional district, beach park. Roseberry, Parklands and the Galena Trail is a regional district park. Any other parks in that area are municipal.
the campsite on the other side of the lake.
Rod Beach,
run sites and trails.
yeah, right, BC government.
BC government. So many different levels of government that you're suddenly aware.
Okay, is that on the old school update, project 6.2?
Yep.
The rec commission number 8.
And if the commission is okay, we pretty much had that at the, at the beginning.
Copy and paste.
Yeah, at the beginning of the meeting. So I just think, so Rec 8 is in this is in a transformational stage where all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but we have parks. What the commission is, we have parks and we also have Campbell Field. So never to forget, we have this large parcel of property in regional district at Campbell Field. So those are the kinds of pieces that no matter what, as staff, we do not move forward on until we have real public engagement. So those pieces still exist.
So I guess we're on the new business.
New business, I move that we defer proposed meeting dates and commission appointments to a later date.
I'm not going to say anything because I'm just acting as Kathy. Yeah, so I think somebody else should in a second.
I'll second it based on the discussion.
Yeah. I think we're done.
No, we don't.
We don't need to vote on that. So all in favor?
Yeah.
Unanimous?
That public time, we do have people. So we have Christy.
That's for.
Oh, okay. So anyways, we can usually would ask for anyone to unmute and then ask a question. Yeah.
If anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute and ask your question now during public time. I think we're good. So we're done.
So
Do we call the meeting over? What do you think? End the meeting? What's the?
Adjournment, just before you adjourn.
Yeah.
Is just, Earl, when you make up the minutes, because we don't have Kathy here, who's the actual chair, the minutes can be sent to Stacy and myself, and I'll review the minutes, make sure that we've got our motions in line and everything else.
Pearl, is that clear? Yep.
That's clear. Thank you.
Okay, we can adjourn the meeting at 8:50. Is that the?
Yeah, 8:51.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
It's maybe the last ever.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pearl. I'm gonna close the meeting down exit the meeting on this side.
Okay. Thanks, Joe. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.